What's the relationship between Christianity and Judaism? Well, the relationship is that both are founded on what Jews would call the Tanakh. That's their word for the Old Testament. The difference is that Christians have another book, the New Testament, that they add on to the Old Testament. And the real debate between Jews and Christians, does the New Testament contradict the Old Testament, or does it sustain the Old Testament, and does it complement the Old Testament? And Christians would argue that it's the latter, that there's nothing in the New Testament that contradicts anything that's written in the Old Testament. And the critique that Christians have with Jews is their interpretation of the Old Testament. Then looking at the Tanakh, they overlook those passages that predict that there would be the coming of the Messiah. Actually predicts in the book of Daniel when that Messiah will come, what he will do, and even predicts in Psalm 22 the sacrifice that he would perform on the cross. A prediction, a prophecy in the Psalm 22, written 1,000 years before Jesus was crucified and written hundreds of years before crucifixion was even invented as a method of execution. And so in that sense, the Old Testament sustains what the New Testament teaches. They complement one another. And I've had the privilege of seeing many Jews who've studied the Old Testament, the Tanakh, and look at those Old Testament texts and realize it teaches the doctrine of the Trinity. It teaches about the coming of the Messiah, when he'll come and what he'll do. And consequently, they've dedicated their lives to Jesus Christ as Creator, Lord, and Savior.